I'll give a few seconds for everyone to settle in. Hi, everyone. I hope I am audible and visible. Welcome to today's session. As this is March, we recognize the importance of advancing opportunities for women and girls this month. So, today's session will focus on discussing gender and girls' education. I am Arnisha, as you know. I am the manager of the British Council Digital Library team. Please note today's session will be recorded. All microphones are currently muted. And however, there'll be a question answer session at the end. So you can ask questions that time and we will unmute your mic. The chat section is disabled, but the Q&A section is on. So the Q&A section is just beside the chat section where you can post your comments and question. Do let us know from where you have joined while we are starting the session. Before we start, I would like to introduce you all with our very special guest, Farah Altenberg. Farah holds a PhD in child mental health from Newcastle University, UK, and an MD in counseling psychology from the University of British Columbia in Canada. Her research focused on children with severe developmental disabilities, and she has built a distinguished career with British Council, leading programs at regional and global levels. She is currently the Senior Program Manager for the Global Youth Connect program, delivered in over 30 countries to support young people as active citizens and leaders. A key part of our work is integrating digital libraries within Youth Connect, expanding access to knowledge and learning resources, especially for women and girls in vulnerable communities. Thank you, Farah, for being with us today. I would like to invite you to share a few words. Over to you,
Uh,
Farah.
thank, Thank you so much. It's my absolute pleasure to begin this session, which is very close to my heart. The work on women and girls and empowerment. This is something that is one of the most important topics in our time. Gender represented, responsive education and its role in enabling girls and young women to learn, thrive, and participate confidently in society. This is something that I personally am interested, and also I know that the British Council has a long history of working towards these objectives. Our work in this area highlights how factors such as geography, safety, and access influence learning experiences. Drawing on the British Council's work across multiple regions, this session shares key insight, real examples, and practical approaches to improving equity and inclusion. It is particularly relevant to educators, policymakers, and professionals interested in advancing gender equality in education and workforce participations. Um, Allow me to just talk you through a few things about the British Council work in this area and the digital library. The British Council Digital Library is available in more than 30 countries globally with 190,000 registered members. Our library houses content of interest to a wide spectrum of audiences ranging from avid to occasional readers. It provides access to resources that support professional and academic growth while putting entertainment at the members' fingertips, which is very exciting. Through the digital library, we aim to curate and showcase the best of UK resources. In addition to infotainment content, the library also recognizes online programming going from author talks, book reads, and storytelling sessions to keep the digital library community engaged throughout their annual membership. So today's session is one of those engagement activities, and we are very happy to have you all as part of this session. Now we have my good friend and colleague Radhika Gholkar, Girls Education Lead from the British Council, with us today. She's going to moderate this session. Um, I feel a bit humble to introduce Radhika, but Radhika's work is at the intersection of policy, practice, and evidence to strengthen the ecosystem that supports learning for women and girls, and she also collaborates with government partners, education systems, and sector experts to design and implement scalable approaches that improve equity, inclusion, and outcomes for women and girls across our diverse global context. To you now, Radhika. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Farah and Arnisha and Walwan, all my colleagues, and thank you to everyone who's joined today. In many parts of the world, it's almost Friday evening, so it's very nice to have you with me today. But particularly, I thank my colleagues and you all because this also revives an old memory of my association with the British Council Library as a young student. I just confessed to my colleagues that I did hide a book or two back then because I needed it to for a longer period in the library. And I've done all these things, but it just goes back to show how important that space was, and it continues to be important to all of us. So for me, it's ultra special because I'm with fellow readers today. So it's really exciting, and I'm happy to spend my Friday evening where I am, which is in Mumbai, with you all. So thank you for that opportunity. I'm going to start sharing my screen. Just give me a quick minute. Okay. Um, is the screen visible, Arnisha?
Yes, yes, Radhika, it is visible.
Right. Okay. So thank you, Farah, for the introduction, and I think you also gave a quick overview of why this theme is so important to you. Um, I'm going to, before we start talking about what we do exactly and how we do it, I just felt like maybe it's important to give you a quick overview of what all I'm going to cover today. So these are the three buckets, as if I may call them, so that you have something to navigate through the session. We're going to talk about where we work, right? Because I think what's exciting today for me is the kind of diversity of locations we've all come together from. And oftentimes we see that even if wherever we are, we will, if we're observant enough, we will see layers of disadvantage or pockets of spaces where people, not just women and girls, but people generally have lesser access than us, or limited opportunities compared to others. So that's also one of the exciting things about today's session. So I'm looking forward to some of your questions and comments. Um, I'm also going to talk about what do we do in these locations. So it's one of the things that we're going to look at is where our work happens and why it happens there, but also what do we do as a result of the challenges these locations throw up for us. And we're going to end with, hopefully I'm on time, but we're going to end with some quick stories of impact, like how does the work really change lives of women and girls in this context. So it's a very simple map of what we're going to cover today, right? So I'm also going to start my timer, Nisha, just in case you're not able to reach me. And I'm not able to see the chat. So if there is any comment or
Yeah,
question
sure,
during the session, please let me know.
sure.
One
I
last
will.
thing before we dive into the session is for everyone. Because I don't know you, I'm meeting you all for the first time, and I will be talking about a lot of things that may come across as overwhelming. I hope not. I've tried my best to simplify a lot of the things for the 30 minutes I have. But if there are questions or comments or clarifications you need, put your comments in the chat. But also there are a couple of opportunities for you to engage with me with what we do. So please do participate, respond, and put your responses in the chat. So that's my humble request to you all. It's just going to make it more interesting for both of us. So with that, um, I have this incomplete statement for you, sentence for you rather, right? We're going to start by reflecting on why girls' education is so important. And before you start thinking about it, also think about it in a particular context. So when we say girls' education is important, we are not saying against boys. We are not saying that. We're just saying that in some contexts and in some locations, focusing specifically on women and girls and improving their access to learning and education becomes more important because of several factors that affect their lives in that particular context. But generally, in your lives, and even from your personal experiences, what do you think happen when specifically girls are educated? So, if you could try completing this sentence for me in the chat. So, when girls get educated, what happens according to? I'll give you a couple of minutes to see what comes up in the chat. And Anisha, if you could read some of the responses out for me. So, this is your opportunity to engage, and I request you to put some responses in the chat.
Sure.
Just try to think specifically how can girls contribute, what happens to the society, for example, or themselves when they get educated.
We have got one comment from Suman Chawla. When you
Okay.
educate a girl, you educate a family.
Okay, that's interesting. All right. Yeah, that's come up a lot in the evaluations we've done as well. Anything else that's come up?
Uh, there's a raised hand.
Can I request at this stage to just post in the chat, and there will be an opportunity to probably ask questions through directly at the end, just in the interest of time, so that. But thank you for your interest, though. Is there anything else in the chat?
No, nothing else
No.
as of now.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine. But it could be something you could keep thinking about through the session and post in the end. So let me just take you through some of the most obvious reasons why what happens when girls get educated, right? So
Sorry
this
to
is
interrupt you, Radhika.
yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah.
want to inform everyone, remind everyone once again that instead of the chat section, please use the Q&A
Oh,
section. That's
sorry.
where we are
Yes.
posting the
Okay.
questions. Thank you. Over to you, Radhika.
Thank you, Anisha. Okay. All right. Okay, so I've just consolidated some of the research, reports, data that's been found around what happens when girls get educated. All right. So one of the most important thing that happens is there is increased labor force participation, um, especially when girls complete upper secondary, and that's the tricky part of the story, which we'll come to. So there is many countries work towards enrollment, many countries work towards girls completing their primary education, and now a lot of the countries are also working towards ensuring that girls complete their secondary and upper secondary education so that they're more likely to enter the world of work, which is very important because we don't need research for this, but there is a lot of research that says that generally gender diversity in the workplace does help organizations, not just with diversity of views, which is the most common reason, but also it's seen to, it seems like organizations are also possibly going to outperform financially if there is that kind of gender collaboration and diversity. There is, of course, as a result, faster economic growth. In fact, there is data from one World Bank report which says countries that invest in girls' education tend to experience faster economic growth. For example, if they increase their spending by 1% in female education, they can increase their GDP by 0.3%. But I think it's easy to get lost and get impressed in these numbers, but the whole point is all these factors come together broadly to improve the choices women make for themselves and their families, and as a result, improved economic growth for their families as an extension for the worlds and communities they live in. There is a lot of emerging and also established, to some extent, research around how when girls get educated, there is a clear impact on climate change as well. There is one, if you're interested, I can post this link through Anisha at the end. There is a particular blog that I found interesting from USAID by Christina Cork, who says that together with family planning, if girls' education is combined with family planning, there is a potential of avoiding nearly 85 gigatons of carbon emissions by 2050. So it's a complicated math, I'm sure, at the back. But I hope you appreciate that a lot of these numbers simply indicate that when anyone gets educated, but more so women and girls, they're going to make better choices for themselves. And as a result of that, a lot of the impact comes through. A lot of research around women participating in the resilience in communities that are affected by conflict, particularly how they are possibly more capable of preventing conflict and rebuilding societies after conflict as well. Now, all these reasons are also obvious, I'm sure, to all of you, but I also want to take a quick pause here and emphasize something that's very important. A lot of the times, these reasons are very important for making a case for girls' education. But personally, I feel like access to learning and access to education is a basic human right that girls deserve to have. And that's a good enough reason for me personally that sort of trumps all these reasons essentially. But these are also reasons that make a lot of meaning and sense to a lot of people who need to be convinced about this. But if you think about it at the core, girls shouldn't need to give all these reasons. It's just a basic human right to want that access to learning and education. So I think if you haven't fallen asleep so far and haven't gotten bored with my monologue, I just wanted to say that so far we're trying to establish why it's important, what are the different reasons why it's so important to focus on girls and education for women and girls, but also quickly looking at what are the kind of barriers and challenges to this globally, what stops education or learning from happening to women and girls. These are global data points just to give you a sense of what kind of challenges are out there. They will be different in different contexts, in different intensities. So this is just a broad brush challenges. Okay. So globally, if we look at girls out of school, there are 122 million girls out of school globally, right? And we see a very limited participation in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics subjects in higher education. This goes back to what I was saying around how girls completing upper secondary education is important for them to enter the labor force, but also higher education. It's quite a gap there. And as a result of that, there's a stark gender gap in labor force participation. I haven't looked at the most recent numbers, but the last, I think there was a 2024 paper that said South Asia seemingly has the highest gap so far globally. 1 in 3 women have experienced physical and/or sexual violence, and this is increasingly true of contexts where women and girls find themselves in countries, in locations where there is ongoing armed conflict or any kind of conflict, displacements due to climate change. All of this increases the possibility of such violence. And then there is a growing trend in online and technology facilitated violence against women as well, against everyone, but also particularly against women. And the AI world that we live in is, if not checked, is also making things a little bit worse for women. This one I find personally very interesting. 80% of people displaced by climate change are women and girls. So this is interesting. There is a UN report that says by 2050, climate change could push 158 million women, more women into poverty, which is 16 million more than men and boys. So it's not to compare the genders, but it's just to highlight that potentially the impact of climate change related life changes are significantly more and worse potentially for women and girls. So these are the barriers, right? And so clearly there are so many challenges. There has been a lot of progress made towards these indicators. Um, However, a lot more needs to be done. This is precisely why the UK's International Women and Girls Strategy 2330 puts girls' education at the center of UK's global gender agenda. It recognizes these barriers very clearly, including the other barriers that we did not talk about much around disability, around conflict, and around general societal norms that could limit women and girls from progressing. This also means that the recent UK's international education strategy brings girls and women at the center stage again. Um, what this means for the British Council also is that uh, no doubt that women and girls are central to all our work, which means that we work through education systems, we work through teachers and school leaders, which also then includes boys in the setup, right? When we work with school education systems towards gender sensitive teacher training and similar initiatives. But we also work with women and girls more directly themselves in many contexts where formal education is not available to women and girls. And that is what I'm going to focus on today. Uh, so I'm just taking a quick pause and just reviewing what we've done so far. We've looked at what kind of why girls' education is important, but also what kind of challenges they face and why then organizations like British Council, why is it important for us to focus on women and girls particularly? Now we move into the real, I hope the interesting part for you, where we'll talk about where do we actually work, what are the kind of locations we work in. And through these I have three sort of stories for you, but it'll show how real lives and context for women and girls differ dramatically across contexts. And hopefully it sort of encourages you to reflect on people around you, not just women and girls, but also other people generally around you, and see if there are layers of how the society is constructed affecting men, women, and girls and boys, everyone. But when I take you through these contexts, it'll be great if you think about these things, okay? Just to keep them at the back of your mind so that you get a real experience of the context. I'm trying to literally take you to these locations to give you a feel of what it is like to be in these locations. So think about, where do you think these girls are learning when you see the context stories? Where do you think they are learning physically? Like, are they in a school? Are they at home? Are they learning on a phone? What do you think they are learning? What do you think will be important for them to learn? How long are they going to learn wherever they are, or how much? And most importantly, what is stopping them? And when you go through the context, you'll realize there's not one thing stopping them. Often there are many things that sort of become challenges for them. Okay, right. So the first place we are going to travel to is Myanmar, right? So I have two situations, two different people saying things to you. This is a quote from one of our participants on the program in Myanmar. So you see what she's saying: in our village, everything is peaceful, but some areas close to our village are not in peace due to armed conflicts. As our parents need to work elsewhere to earn a living for the family, most children like me live with their grandparents. Okay, so this is one of the quotes from the participants. And then there is another participant who is on our program. She's a young woman, and her situation is slightly different. She is forced to relocate with her family due to instability in her home state. So this is possibly a person who has moved countries and is probably living as a refugee in another country, in Myanmar in this case. She was a second year university student, so she was a higher education student, but she suspended her formal education a year ago due to armed conflicts back home. So these, of course, by no means I mean to say that this is how it's everywhere in the country, but these are like key situations that give you a sense of what's happening there, right? Second, this image, this it's purely for representation for you. Again, in Myanmar, we are unable to show you the real people we work with because of security reasons. So this is just to give you a feel of what it is like to be part of learning in Myanmar. But if you reflect on what are the barriers, what's stopping these two girls from learning, you will see that there is armed conflict. So there is conflict, there is separation possibly from the family in the first case. The person is living with grandparents. And because that person is living with the grandparents, possibly they also have other caregiving duties, which come early in life. So it could be taking care of the household or of younger siblings. It could also be because they are surrounded by conflict. There is also a big likelihood of them being at the risk of violence related to these conflicts, sexual and otherwise. So basically, what we are looking at is a very unstable and in some cases maybe unsafe learning environment, and like that, all these different factors become barriers to their learning, right? So this is Myanmar for you, and we travel to Ethiopia next. Okay. This is from a scoping study that we did in Ethiopia. It simply means that in many of the contexts, we try to find out the status of learning for women and girls, the challenges they are facing, so that we are able to respond to that particular context with some program, right? So this was one of the cases where we went into Ethiopia to find out what's happening. So this is like a quick summary from the study. And it says families and communities expect girls to excel in school. That's interesting. Take on household responsibilities, uphold community norms, avoid negative peer influences, and marry only after finishing school, which is still young, like maybe even below 18. Of course, it's going to be below 18. There's a lack of secondary and tertiary education options. Girls have to leave their communities in order to continue their schooling. So just try to paint the picture for yourself that there is some interesting trend there, that they are expected to excel in school. They are expected to complete school even. But if I will share the link to the scoping study as well if you're interested in diving deep. But one of the reasons that also could be possible, which is stated in the study, is the fact that if girls, often in these contexts, if girls are not in learning spaces, they are exposed to harm. So there's also that push from the community and parents. It's better that you are in schools. And this is a quote from a schoolgirl from Addis Ababa. This girl is not that girl. This is again for representation, but just to give you a sense. So this girl says, in our neighborhood, for instance, we are the ones responsible for cooking breakfast for the boys before they leave for school. We pack their lunches as well. After school, we again prepare supper for them while they go outside to play football. He's allowed to leave the house at night to have fun. Boys are regarded as brave even if they get into fights and cause trouble. There isn't that much pressure on boy. Now, of course, we have to be mindful that this is this girl's perception of what's happening to her, and it may not be the general case in the context, but there is a it does what comes out from both the situations is that there is a lot of expectation of caregiving responsibilities and upholding uh, gender roles in a way in the family that has come out as a common factor. And in many contexts, other contexts, you will also see boys being disadvantaged in many cases where boys drop out. A particular example comes to my mind is Philippines. In certain parts of Philippines, you'll see boys dropping out of school also to take on early earning responsibilities. So genders are affected differently in different contexts. So this is Ethiopia for you. And again, if we think about what's stopping these girls, it seems like, again, there is a lot of community expectation around their roles. One clear thing that's coming out is there is also lack of access. Even if girls complete schooling, there is very little or almost no access to immediate secondary and higher education for them. So that's going to be where girls are going to drop out. But also look at their roles. Like if they are expected to do so much at home, that takes away a lot of learning time and energy from them. So there are different, uh, some evident, some difficult to see, some sort of hidden factors that affect girls' chances of accessing education, right? The third context I'm going to take you to, I realize I am running out of time, but quickly, is India, which is interesting. Here is Neela's story. It's completely fictional in this case, unlike the other two stories where you have real. I have been able to get quotes from real people. This is because this is a representation of a particular case in India that, and it's a program that we are just starting. So we'll have more to tell you maybe next year when Anisha invites me. But one other interesting thing about this picture is these two women you see are real participants from a program, and they are in the Delhi British Council Library. So that's a good connect for us to remind ourselves of. Um, in Neela's case, she lives in an urban neighborhood, unlike the other girls and women we just met, and has completed some formal schooling. So she has had some formal schooling. She's also second generation learner, which means she doesn't have anyone else probably who can guide her, like a proper mentor or precedents to follow. She runs a small home based pickle business that has seen some early success, but she does feel stuck now because she has had very limited access to funding and success in getting those funds as well. And she has reflected on reflection, she thinks that there are skills missing in her repertoire. There is a lack of digital marketing, which is big now if you want to reach a wider market, pricing. Also, specifically, when we spoke to these women to design this program, they also mentioned English language skills, even to interact online or with accessing wider markets. So this is where Neela comes from. And if you see, this is, I just wanted to go back to the point I made about sometimes in our own locations, however privileged or not privileged they are, even in the ultra urban context, you will have pockets of um, look situations where there is very limited access or no access to for people, depending on where they come from, which communities they come from, which class they come from, how much education they've had been able to access. And Neela's case is one such interesting case. So quickly then, uh, it's this is not evident, and I'm just sort of honestly reading into her situation to analyze what could be stopping her, because she does have some formal education. Well, as I said, she is a second generation learner, so it's going to be probably difficult for her to get that kind of mentoring from someone similar to her. Um, and probably being a woman, it's possible that her business, and it depends how seriously she's taken as an entrepreneur. We don't know about that. Um, Her class and economic background could be another limiting factor, even if she's in an urban location. And within the urban location, a further location matters as well. So just because she's in an urban location doesn't mean she has equal access to things. What I got thinking about, the most important factor for me was her role within her family. How is she viewed within her family? What role she plays, and is that overwhelming as well? Even though this is not a real story, it is a representative story of many of the women on this particular program. And you will see that a lot of these factors compound to make things difficult. They come together for a person and make it more difficult. So that's something, that intersectionality of problems is something that we should be mindful of. But now that we've traveled to three locations, we went to Myanmar, we went to Ethiopia, and we went to India. and there are more locations where we work. But with that, I just wanted to tell you a bit more about what do we do in these locations. Then now I hope that I've been successful in giving you a flavor of the locations, the type of people we work with, and the challenges that these women and girls face. With that, I thought that it will be a good thing to do this so that you get a sense of the kind of work we do. Before I go into that, I wanted to make a final point about this context. You see that all these three locations have different challenges, and therefore, what it means um, for us is we need to use as flexible as an approach as possible for developing these learning solutions for these women. These learning solutions also need to be sustainable, which means that when a particular program or intervention ends, this is true of all programs, but particularly in this case, because you see these women and girls often are at an age where they may not get access to really formal educational opportunities in their lives. So it's very important to work on their skills of how to learn and take their progress story forward. So that's also a critical aspect of what we do with these women. So with that note, I'll quickly talk about one of the programs and many more after this slide. This is a program that's one of our oldest programs that began in 2015 in Bangladesh, and it's spread across the world now. It's called English and Digital for Girls Education. We lovingly call it EDGE. And what does EDGE do? Essentially, this is a program that focuses on girls aged 13 to 19 from marginalized communities or those out of school or both, offering safe spaces to develop their English, digital, and social skills, life skills broadly, supporting their empowerment agency and decision making. And these three keywords. So the skills are important, but in these contexts, it's also important to have the confidence to raise your hand and say what's on your mind. And that's, in my experience of working with women and girls, that's also a very critical milestone in their progress. To be able to say what they feel in a safe space is a first step to learning even any skill. So on the EDGE program, essentially, we look at a peer-led model. By that, I mean, you will see in these three locations we went to, we cannot expect a teacher always to be present or an expert who can teach these girls. So how do you then bring some learning to them? And in a peer-led model, which means that girls get together, there is one girl amongst that group who takes on a slightly more responsible role of becoming a leader of that group, and they go through curated materials together and learn from each other, right? So it's a very it's an approach that draws from girls' motivation, from their own lived experience, from their own motivation, intention, and wanting to learn, like their own initiative. So that it really is driven by that, and it's very interesting. I'll tell you some things more about how girls like this. Um, and it's also integrated. Like a lot of the learning across English, digital, and life skills is integrated. It's combined, and in a way, the process of learning has more learning value than the skills. The skills are important, and girls learn them, but the way they do it, through interaction with each other, through respecting each other's viewpoints, through leading each other's learning and their own, we've found that to be more valuable, more learning value than the skills themselves. So far, we've reached more than 20,000 adults and girls across sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, and Southeast Asia as well. So this is one program, but I'm going to tell you quickly about two others as well. So in sub-Saharan Africa, I mentioned that we run the EDGE program in Ethiopia, but we've also done studies in Nigeria, Ethiopia, and Sierra Leone to see what programs can be done in these locations. And a link to these studies will be shared with you as well. South Asia is quite interesting. South Asia, we have the EDGE program in the form of girls empowerment and mainstreaming sustainably. So the edge is called GEMS in Nepal. It just got over actually, and we are waiting to see the impact on girls. Edge also ran in Bangladesh. Traditionally, it began there, so it was a very big part of our work in Bangladesh. Edge has a long history in India, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan as well. Um, in India, particularly in South Asia, we've been able to improvise on the edge model significantly, and our work on edge to reach um, engineering students in government colleges in India, not just girls but also boys, in but a majority of our participants are girls, through the English Skills for Youth program, which is a partnership with Microsoft, which is interesting, where the participants do learn English through a course, a self-access course. But what's more important is they get together and practice a lot of what they learn, which, going back to what I was talking about, a peer-led model, it's very important at this age for young people to come together and to learn how to learn, and that's what they do. And the other one, you saw the story of Neela. This is a program that we're just starting, English for Entrepreneurs, where which is in partnership with the Spark, the 100K Collective, founded by Smriti Irani. It's part of the Women's Collective Forum and Alliance for Global Good. This is a vision to reach women entrepreneurs in India, 100K women entrepreneurs, helping them strengthen their skills, grow their businesses, and access new opportunities. This is beginning. So if I'm given another opportunity next year to speak to you, I'm happy to. I'll have some stories to tell you. And quickly then, in South and Southeast Asia, we have Edge in Myanmar, as you just saw, and we've studied Philippines and Indonesia more to see what we can do there. This is just in a nutshell, and there is a lot more to see, of course, and I can see the clock ticking. Quickly then, what is the kind of impact? This is one of the things that I'm going to share today, but there is a lot of impact that I'm unable to share in 3 minutes. I'm going to focus on the EDGE program, particularly because it's been a long drawn program. We did an impact evaluation of this program recently, which means that we went into all those contexts where EDGE happened over the last 7 to 10 years, and we met the participants and tried to find out what has happened in the long term as a result of being part of this program. Okay, and we looked at how if the program had impact on their confidence, if the program helped them or encouraged them to continue their education, what happened to their skills and employment, and if there were any changes in family attitudes and well-being as well. In a nutshell, then, 98% participants on the EDGE program reported that they felt confident as a result of being part. I just wanted to highlight the point I made about being able to raise your hand and speak your mind, and that is the most important finding we've had on this program. Around 88% felt that EDGE empowered them to pursue higher education. But I should add a caveat here. There is no way to find out if there is actual link between the two. But the sense of what's very encouraging for us is that there is a sense of progress that the girls highlighted, which helped them think or encourage them to think about pursuing higher education. And this one is interesting. It's not like a great number, but it's very important because 46% said knowledge and skills, digital and English particularly, were useful in securing employment. EDGE doesn't directly aim to improve employment skills or doesn't say that you'll get a job at the end of the course. I would like to go back to what I said about the process of learning, which is more valuable to girls of that age than anything else. But it was very noteworthy for us to strengthen possibly this part of the EDGE program moving forward, because it seems like there is an incidental impact on girls where they do feel like these two skills have helped them gain employment. I'm just skipping this slide and going to the quick quotes from participants. And this is only from Edge, but there are many videos I have that I could have shared today from other projects as well, like the English Skills for Youth, for example. But for the time being, I'm just leaving some things so that I get invited again by Anisha. But um, this is an example of the employment story. A participant from Nepal saying that this was made employment. Her employment with an NGO was made possible because of the skills and knowledge she gained. Particularly as a PGL, which is a peer group leader, which means that she was one of the persons in the group who led learning in the group. This is from a parent, um, again from Nepal, where it's very interesting because the impact has gone to her family, as I think Suman was saying in the chat earlier on, how her daughter knowing English has impacted things. She's able to read English on medications that they buy from the pharmacy, and how she's happy her daughter is friendly and outspoken. And this is from Myanmar, from a recent case study. This is not from the impact evaluation, essentially, but EDGE is a real opportunity for those who cannot continue their education. So this is a good opportunity to access some learning for girls. And it also offers a lot of things that we could practically apply in life. So this is just a snapshot of the work we do and the kind of impact it could have. But I do have a lot more stories. I'm just going to pause here. I've really run out of time, but thank you for your patience. These are some of the references and further reading links that Anisha will post in the chat. I stop here. Thank you. Anisha, over
Thank
to
you.
you.
Thank you, Radhika. Yes, we'll definitely love to have you back next
I've
year
made
or
a lot
this
of
year.
case for that. It's really good to speak to
Yeah,
everyone. I'm looking forward to the
surely.
questions.
Yes, so there are a couple of comments also, but we'll
Okay.
start with the questions
Yeah.
first.
Okay.
Farouk has her hands up.
Okay.
I'm allowing a mic for you, Farouk. Uh, you can unmute and ask your question. Hi, Farouk. Yes, you are unmuted, I think.
I can't
Hi,
hear you.
Farouk. I can't
Yeah,
hear. Yeah.
Hi, Farooq.
good and
Hello.
excellent. Good and excellent. Okay, okay.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yo. Yeah. Due to net problem, I could not uh, descend.
Okay, maybe there's
Farooq,
some glitch.
would you like to put your question in the chat and
Yeah.
maybe I can come back to it if that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I, I, pro-
Tawakkal.
I proved of
Sorry.
you. I
Yes.
proud
Okay.
of you.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll go to the next participant. Tawakkalitu, you have your hands up. You can
Hi,
unmute and
good
speak.
good afternoon. Can you hear
Good
me?
afternoon.
Good afternoon. So my question is, I've heard about the Edge program,
Mm-hmm.
and it was really impactful, and I appreciate the efforts of the people that coordinated this. However, is
Mm-hmm.
there another program that supports in women above the age of 19?
Yes. So, how it works is we don't, this is just one example of the program, and I thought that it'll be interesting to share one of the longest running programs. But as you saw that in Nepal and in India, we've gone beyond edge and sort of tried to address other needs as well. So the program in India actually, I think, if I'm not wrong, the oldest participant is above 40, so even older. So the a short answer is yes. If there is a need, we we will find out what can be done best and sort of design something very specific to address those needs.
All right, thank you. And is it limited to India alone?
No, it's globally anywhere really.
Okay, and is there any program currently that is including Nigerians?
Are you from Nigeria? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes,
Okay. Nigeria, I think currently we don't have a program like Edge or something for girls and women, but we do have, as I told you, we have done a study to understand the context. So possibly in the future, yes.
okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you for your questions.
Thank you. Anila, you have your hands up. You can unmute and ask your question, please. Hi, Anila. Okay. We'll come back, Anila. Anindita, you can unmute and ask your question.
Hi, Radhika. If I
Hi.
may, uh, this was lovely. Thanks for reaching out
Thank you.
and telling us a little bit about how British Council is working with girls' education. So I'm based at the Indian Institute of Technology at Hyderabad, and I would
Mhm,
love to get in touch with British Council and with you
mhm.
to talk more about, so currently we're doing a research. I'm sorry I'm doing this here because I don't know how to reach out to you otherwise. So please bear with me, everybody. We're doing a research on aspirational women in IIT and how women in STEM make it here in the elite
Cool.
IITs,
Interesting.
and on the supernumerary scheme, which has had a huge impact. I can see it.
Okay.
And it would be lovely to talk to you because I think we've also done a research in 4 states in Delhi looking at conditional cash transfer schemes and girl child
Yes.
education. So we want to connect this now and make it into a mentorship thing where, women in engineering colleges can reach out to girls
Mm.
in Zilla Parishad high schools. In Telangana, there are these wonderful schools called the TS welfare schools where young girls are taught. I mean, they're a great model to think about. And I just
Very
wanted to talk
exciting.
more about how we can, think of
Mm.
collaborating. I've sent a mail to Digital Library, but it would be wonderful because
Okay.
I think Edge and your English language in engineering colleges program is perfect to think
Right.
about,
Okay.
how to get girls to be more aspirational. I think I see all these brilliant girls in IITs, but they're also caught in a situation of managing expectations all the time and therefore,
Yes.
devaluing themselves. And I think the next step is to
Yeah.
create value around young women and girls as confident, aspirational women, So that was
Absolutely.
my thank you for your lecture. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Anila. It just feels thank you for sharing your work with us because it's very I mean, one of the reasons it's very exciting for me to talk to you all is also to find to also see if a lot of this resonates right with different people we meet and learn from you all. So I'm very happy that it's resonated with you. And Anisha, I'm happy to have my email shared in the chat for whoever wants to get in touch because one of the things I missed saying at the end also was if you looking at the work we do, if you feel like you have ideas to share or talk to us more about know more, please do write to me and I will try to. I don't promise to speak to all of you because it may be very difficult, but I'm very happy to listen and share more. That will be a big learning experience for us as well because you all have experience from your walks of life and it's only going to enrich what we do. So Anila, I'm happy to Anisha, tell me if I can put it in chat
Yeah,
or you
yeah.
can
I'll request
do it. I'll
Valavan to put in chat.
perfect.
Valavan. Yeah.
That will be great.
Yes.
Thank you.
I think we are almost on time to and have come to the end of the session. Sorry to have. I mean, the time just flew. So
I did
yeah,
eat
thank
into
you.
it. Sorry about that. I did sort of take 5 minutes extra.
No, it's fine. It's fine. So yeah, I'd like to invite again Farah for your closing remarks, please.
Thank you so much, everyone. It was such engaging session, Radhika. Thank you so much. Also, talking about the work that we are doing through Edge and some other projects that we had. I think you brought this sense of understanding, profound understanding, when we talk about what we mean by talking about women and girls empowerment and education. And one point that you made that resonated with my experience is when you talk about women and girls education, we are not excluding the rest of the population of
Yeah.
learning opportunities. They go side by side, but in terms of equity, this is why we try to put some light and highlight this issue in a way. So that point, I absolutely loved it because this is something that resonates with the work that we do. I would like to thank you. I know that how busy you are, and also colleagues, Anisha and other colleagues who arranged this session, and for coordinating, for organizing it, for looking at the questions and asking the questions. It was a very informative session, and we look forward to having you back here. Thank you, everybody. With this, we
Thank
conclude
you.
today's event. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Have a nice weekend, everyone.
Thank you. My colleague
Thank you.
Balavan has posted Radhika's email ID
Thank
and a
you.
feedback
Thank you.
form for